Hey everybody, welcome to Live in the Session Studios. I am your host, Miss Nikki. Now, usually we would have good morning, but we are back in the Session Studios. We are bringing this session back, and so I'm super excited about this guest that I'm having on today. I feel like this was kind of like God answering a prayer that I asked, because I was like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I living in my purpose? And so this connection came really easily and effortlessly. So I'm super excited just to have her on the show. I kind of feel like I really know her already. And so I think you guys are going to really enjoy this, because in this season, we said 2024 is all about executing, and it's also about not taking baggage with us. It's not about carrying people, dragging them with us, and being burdened by people. Like, we have to learn to let people go. We have to realize people serve a purpose in our lives, and it's not up to us to hold on to that. I was saying, I went live just previously on Instagram, and I was saying, people are people, and they're going to be who they are. We put these expectations on these people. They know who they are. They know what they're going to do. They know they're going to disappoint you, and they're good with that. And we are not, because we're expecting them to be better than that. We're expecting them to be like us, and they're not like us. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand, how people operate and how we need to have them operate in our lives. Everybody is not meant to come with us everywhere. And so we have to learn, when that season is over, we have to learn to close the book, change the chapter, and go on and move on. And so I'm super excited about this conversation tonight. Again, 2024 is about big transformation, big changes, and we can't do that with old relationships and old things that's tying us down. So super excited about that tonight. Let me check and see who is in the building. We got Cousin in the building. Cousin is the best moderator on what? Earth. I slowed that down for y'all. The best moderator on earth is in the building. Hey, cousin. Cousin is in the building. Good morning, Miss Lloyd. Good morning. Goodness. Good evening, Miss Lloyd. Good evening, Miss Lloyd. Good evening, Miss Lloyd. I got to keep that in mind. Hey, Betty Rose. Betty Rose is in the building. Hey, Betty Rose. Michelle is in the building. Hey, girl, we miss you. Michelle's in the building. Deltra's in the building. Hey, Deltra. Bree said, hello, everyone. Excited to chat with you all. Hey, Jasmine. Jazz is in the building. Good evening, Miss Linda. Thank you so much, Jazz. Everybody, make sure that y'all hit the like button. Yes, yes, and yes. Miss Chris Marie's in the building. Hey, Chris Marie. Hey, Big Meech. Big Meech is in the building. That's right, Jazz. Best moderator on earth is in the building. Melissa's in the building too. Let's get it. Let's go. So I'm going to need everybody in here. I need y'all to take this link out. I need y'all to share it out, fan out, take it everywhere. Let everybody know. Come join us over here. We're back and it's popping. And we have Miss Bree Carroll in the building. And I am super excited. She's of Miss B Carroll Events. And she curates events for you guys that transform lives and everything like that. And she is also going to help you transform the energy in your life right now. So you guys, if you understand what it is like to have relationships that no longer serve you, but you're still holding on, put ones in the chat. Put ones in the chat. Put twos if you have no problem letting go. Put twos in the chat if you have no problems letting go. Some people don't have attachments to people and they could just be like, okay, bye, toodaloo. But some people feel like oh, I feel the need, like I have to take these people with me. Let me know in the chat. Ones and twos. Ones and twos. Let me know. Hey, Laura. Good evening. Good evening. Hey, Manic Sense. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Let me know in the chat. Ones and twos. Ones and twos. Oh, look at y'all. Y'all let it go. I see y'all. I see y'all. So let me introduce my guest, Miss Bree Carroll, to the stage. Welcome, everybody. Give her a warm welcome. Let me even find me some applause for you, girl.
Yes, look, I'm here for the applause. I love it. We bring in big energy, and I'm so excited to be joining all of you. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm seeing these. I see your 1.5. I see your twos. I see your ones. That's great. That means we have a good mix of people who may need what we are talking about today. And let me tell you a little bit about myself. To people outside, they may know me as being a civil engineer for 11 years, working with the Air Force. Other people may know me with my entrepreneurial hat on as the owner and CEO of B Carroll Events. Some people know me as a founder. I am a military spouse and I founded Military Marriage Day. So I may wear a whole lot of hats, but what people may not see is that I am a wife. I am a mom. I am a person that loves to give this hype girl energy and cheer for other people and see people do well and celebrate it. And that's what I'm most excited about. We can wear 1,000 different titles, but you have to know in your heart who you are. And I'm going to show up that same way everywhere, encouraging people, wanting to see people just be a light, be themselves. And that's why I'm excited that I had an opportunity to connect with Nikki, having a conversation on IG Live that I just randomly was like, hey, let me join this room and let's have this conversation, because we were talking about some of the things that may be frustrating in this industry, frustrating around owning, operating a business, frustrated with your career and your growth and the relationships that you may have. So we wanted to come here and have a conversation about healthy relationships, relationships that serve you. So I'm going to just jump on in. Now that y'all have an idea, and I told y'all I run B Carroll Events, right? So I am an event planner. I do event strategy and I do event management. And one of the things that I wanted to paint the picture for you as it relates to events is that people get really excited about events. Listen, I can see maybe some of you out there have an event or an idea on your heart, and it would be like, oh, it would be so dope if I could bring people in a room around an experience. You might have thought about your linen colors. You might have thought about some floral. You may thought about like, oh, the photographer's going to be there and capturing all of the things and different elements that you want to have in the room. And oftentimes when I see people who are planning events, one of the things that can come up, especially when I used to do weddings, one of the things that would always come up when planning weddings or even when planning events for the thought leaders that I do now is seating. Everybody is concerned about the seating in the room and who is sitting where. So the conversation that I want y'all to start thinking about, and if you have your notepad, if you have your pen, go ahead and grab that now, because I want you to start thinking about your seating. So think of it this way, as opposed to just the event that you might have on your heart, or maybe an event that you have gone to. I want you to take this into context and think about your life being an event. Your life is the event. Okay. And as meticulous as you want to be about your photo ops, your linen colors, and your all of the things, oftentimes I've realized that people are not as intentional about planning their lives as they are about planning their events. You care more about what's going to be what you're going to be wearing at the event than you care about what you're clothing yourself in your day-to-day. Are you clothing yourself with wisdom? Are you clothing yourself with peace? Are you clothing yourself with, like, what are you putting on, sis, in the morning? Like, you think more about that when you're going out to an event than you do in your day-to-day life. So I want you to start thinking about your life as the event. What are some things that you want to add to that experience of your life? And I know that can be a whole nother live in and of itself, right? But as you are in that mindset, as you are thinking about that, that's why we got our pen and the paper, because we're going to start talking about this seating chart. Because I know one thing is for sure, most people get very upset when it comes to seating. Why? Because for the thought leaders that I have and the speakers, typically they have a VIP section. Okay. They have a VIP table. And if you are a wedding guest or you went to a wedding, you can relate to that as well. Cause Uncle such and such cannot sit by Auntie blah, blah, because there was something that happened back in the day. So they got to be on separate sides of the room, right? Mm-hmm. So when we think about our seating, we also want to think about that in our lives, because let me give y'all some permission. If anybody needs permission, for my ones out there who said, I'm not sure, let me give you permission. Everybody can't have a seat at your table. Everybody cannot have a seat at your table. Okay. So what I want you to start doing is being really intentional about who gets a seat at your table. So let's just do this example on your pen and paper. I just want you to number it 1 through 8. 1 through 8. Typically, if you are at a banquet, your banquet table can fit 8. if you feeling jazzy and you like, Bree, I might want to look a couple more seats, I will allow for 10. Some tables can seat 10. So if you drop in the comments if you were going to do a table for 8 or if you are going to do a table for 10, you get to choose. These are your seats at your table. It is your VIP section. Drop a 8 in the comments if you are going to be doing 8 seats at your table. Drop 10 if you are going to be doing 10 seats at your table. For me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 8. And the reason why I'm going to do 8 is because I just happen to know for myself that I do better curating smaller groups, right? I do better curating those more close-knit relationships. I know we got some extroverts out there that they might be like, 10 girl, I'm trying to have a couple of extra seats. I might need to slide a couple of extra people in there. So perfect. I see a whole lot of 8s. I'm excited about that. So let's break down what these 8 seats need to look like. So what I'm going to be walking you through right now is really thinking about a relationship audit. A relationship audit. I would recommend you do this annually. You can do this quarterly. And sometimes I like to be funny and I like to, after I do my audit, I let the people who stay at the seats in my table know, congratulations, you have a seat at my table for another year. Okay.
Okay.
I need them to know that they are VIPs in my life, that they are special to me, that they are important to me. And also to remind myself that everybody isn't welcome to this space. Everybody doesn't get the same access. Why? Because we have to guard the people who are speaking into our life.
Say that one more time, though. Say it one more time.
Guard the people who are speaking into our life. Everybody's voice cannot enter your ear gates because they will throw you off track. And let's be clear about these seats at the table. Number one is you. If you don't have a seat at your own table, what are we doing? You listening to everybody else besides yourself. So number one, let's keep a thing. Number one needs to be you. You need to be the priority. So everybody. Up. I'm back. I think we're still on there. I'm gonna wait to see if Nikki jumps back in. I think she's gonna jump back. Here she is. Okay, boom. She's back. We're good. We're flowing. So everybody, we good. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep working. Yep. We have our 8 seats. We know our first person at the table is us because we are going to prioritize listening to ourselves in this season. And this talks about how me and Nikki met because we were talking about how a lot of thought leaders, they show and they talk a good game, but they may or may not have your best interest at heart. And one of the things that I have found, even working alongside some amazing women and some of the top minority women in the personal development space, is that we will idolize other people and not listen to ourselves. Can I be real with y'all real quick? Can I come in? Can we bring it in real quick? I personally had to have a reality check moment where I stopped listening to myself, where I valued other people's voices over my own. And y'all, I'm married to one of the most handsome pilots out here in this Air Force. Okay. I was listening to their voices, even over my spouse's. Sis, talk about getting in trouble. When I had that realization, I knew I had to go back and do another relationship audit. And I'm not happy to say that I had to do that. But the reality is I'm here to share that with you so that you don't make the same mistakes. Because there's a lot of people out there and everybody's situation and story is different. But I do not want you to have failed healthy relationships with people who are in your corner, that love you, that support you, because you prioritize listening to someone else who should not have had a seat at your table. So that is my rant for the moment. So we're going to go back to this seating chart for your VIP table. You are the number one at the table. Okay. As we go through our relationship audit, one of the things that I would love to say is that there are 3 categories of people that we are going to be looking at seats at our tables. So I'll start with the one that most people think about. Most times when people want VIPs at their tables, they may be people who are like a couple of steps above them, right? So that may be a mentor or a coach. Look, Nikki is here sharing and dropping all the gems. She may be one of the names that you have in them seats, okay? And that's a beautiful thing. Mentors and coaches are there to help give you some foresight so that you can kind of see what's coming. I like to recommend having 2 to 4 of this group. So this is mentors or coaches. You want to have 2 to 4. And if you don't know names right now, just as you number going on down, just have a seat, like just put like mentor, mentor, or mentor, mentor, coach, coach, whatever that looks like. It looks like we're frozen. I'm going to see, are we still frozen? Are we good? Okay. I see somebody drop mentor / coach, 2 to 4 seats. Perfect. Okay. So that means you guys are still following. So 2 to 4, mentors or coaches is what you want to have there. And as you think about this, because you might be like, Bree, well, that seems like a lot. Think about the different areas of your life, right? You may, if you are a mom, any moms out there, drop a 1 in a comment, or matter of fact, drop the number of kids you have. I would put up a 3. Mine would be 3, right? But I also, as I think about the seats that I have at my table, I honor and I appreciate having a mentor mom who can tell me some stuff that I don't know about. When my baby is sick in a certain type of way, when I'm working through a certain, situation within my marital relationship, I appreciate having somebody that I can, glean some wisdom from. And that's really for any of those who know a little word. Like, we need to be in the middle of wise counsel. It is great to be in a multitude of wise counsel, and having different counsel or coaches and mentors in different areas of our life. That is a huge thing. So maybe if you have a business, maybe one of those mentors or coaches is somebody that can speak specifically to your area of expertise, or they're in your industry with you. Another person may be for that personal side, right? If you are still employed, shout out to you. Like, that may be another opportunity for you to have a mentor or a coach that is in your office or in your department. Look for coaches and mentors and invite them to have a seat at the table, right? Build the relationship, have the conversation. And I think later on, we are going to go ahead and talk about how we can have those conversations. But really quickly with them, it's always very, very helpful for you to, even if it's an email, it's a text, let them know what you see in them as to why you want them to have a seat at your table. And just say, I've been watching you from afar. I respect that you do X, Y, Z. I hope to glean information from you as this particular role. Can I buy you a cup of coffee and we sit and chat maybe once a month? Right? Or can you hold me accountable in this area of my life? And just, we just text maybe once a week. Whatever that looks like, being very clear with your mentors and your coaches is really good, so that you can be a good steward of their time, and also so that they understand the expectation. But some of these people may be friends of yours. Maybe there's somebody in your church. Maybe it's somebody that's in your community. So those are other opportunities, but you want to clearly communicate to them what that relationship will look like, that they do have that seat at your table. And listen, a mentor or coach, somebody that may have a seat in the table, these don't have to be people that you have in-person relationships with, right? This could be somebody that you listen to their podcasts, right? You can get information from them there. Maybe it's books that you say, in 2024, I'm going to read books by this author, and that is how they're going to fill the role at this table. So I share that to say, don't be discouraged if you are thinking about a coach or a mentor and you are not sure, or you don't feel like you have access. Listen, it's 2024, y'all. There's a lot of different ways that you can get access to mentors and coaches. They do not all have to be in person and doing life with you. Okay. So I hope that everybody is following there. We're going to go to our second group. This is the party group. This is the fun part of the table that I like to say. And these are your peers. So for anybody who is taking notes, please drop in the chat. Your next group is peers. And I would recommend 2 to 4 seats for peers. 2 to 4 seats for peers. Why? Why is this group important? Because listen, if you in this thing, you want to be in this thing with somebody who can understand what you are going through when you going through it. Okay. That is so important for you to have that understanding, for you to be able to have that crosstalk, for you to go through some hard stuff together and to celebrate together. I'm gonna get on a soapbox really quickly with y'all, because I think this is something that a shift that I am personally exercising, and I'm going to challenge you to exercise this as well. I see we got a whole lot of ladies in the chat. As women, we do a great job of being there for people when they are down. When they lose somebody, girl, what do you need? Right? If somebody about to have a baby, we doing a meal train or something, like we trying to bring food over. If they're crying, they have a loss, they broke up, whatever it is, we're there when they're down, right? What I find though is that we do not do a very good job of celebrating people. Where's the support when you start the business? Where are the claps for that? When you get, I don't know, you got 100 followers on social media, right? Or you've grown in a new way. You started writing your book. You started working out. You started going to the gym. Where are the claps for that? When you were improving, when you were doing different things, you don't see the same level of support. When I'm down, you're ready to support me. But when I'm up, why does it feel lonely at the top? Okay. Why does it feel lonely at the top? So, my challenge to you, especially with having peers, you get to be one another's cheerleaders, which is why I said this the party group. This is the group that is going to hype you up. Look, when I came on here, we coming with this hype girl energy. I'm here. I am a natural encourager, and that's what I love to do. And this is the group that you get to hype up. When you can remind them, sis, you remember a week ago, you wasn't even ready to go run. Now I see you showing up. You sent us a picture and you was running 2 days in a row. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. You set that goal. You said you were going to do that and you were doing it. That's what that peer group is for. And in response, because this group needs to be mutually beneficial, in response, you should expect that too in return. I don't want you to be hyping everybody else up and you not receiving hype. So as you figure out what names fill these seats, the conversation that I would encourage you to have here is, hey, I would love for 2024 to walk this thing out with you, whatever that looks like. Because we're not going to talk specific like goals and objectives today that you want to do in your life and in 2024, but have the conversation of, this is what my heart desires in 2024. This is what I'm trying to build. This is what the events of my life is going to look like in 2024. And I would love to walk alongside you, and I would love for you to walk alongside me. What that looks like is, let's get a group text. Right? Let's make it real practical. Let's do a group text. And I want you to share your wins. I want you to drop if you need support. How can I help? Like, how can we be there for one another? And ask people what support looks like for them. The reason why I say that is because, Joyce, the support that you need might look different than the support that I need, right? Yazzie might need a certain level of support, and it may look different for someone else, right? So you want to ask what type of support they need, as opposed to just being like, well, girl, I was just liking all your pictures on Instagram. That's not support. That might not be support for her, right? So have that conversation with your peer group so that you can really make it mutually beneficial. So let's recap. We talked about our mentor and our coaches. That's 2 to 4 seats. We talked about our peers. That's the party group. That is who's going to be our encouragement, our accountability. That's 2 to 4 seats. Let's talk about this last category. This last category is a really, really special one. Okay. It's a really, really special one. And it's one that we kind of need to stretch ourselves to have around us. And those are, I like to say, this is our aspiring category. So that may be young girls or women who are maybe two or 3 steps behind us, right? And the reason why they're important to have on at your table, and I would say 1 to 2. This is the smallest group, 1 to 2, so that you can steward those relationships really well. I'll tell you, having that aspiring group at your table, at least 1 to 2 people at your table that are aspiring, it will bless you because they are looking up to you and excited, and they are getting hope. They are getting encouragement. They are feeling motivated because they see you moving forward. And you seeing them sitting at your table blesses you because you can remember when you were sitting there. You can remember when you were in that season. You can remember when you didn't have it all, what you do have figured out, right? And I'm not saying that you have to be a 10 on this call. Like maybe nobody feels like they're a 10 yet, right? I always like to say I'm a 5. I'm a 5. Can I have people at my table that are at a step 0, 1, 2, or 3? Yes, that can be my 1 or 2, right? I have not arrived yet. I don't think anybody can feel like they have arrived yet. But it is so important for you to have somebody who is 2 to 3 steps behind you, because that is going to feed that fire for you to want to go after more, and is going to keep you grounded so that you feel like, you know what? I know somebody is going to be blessed by proximity to me. I know that I can speak into her life. I know that I'll be able to support her because I understand where she's at. And maybe she just needs somebody to understand. At her table, if she was doing this diagram, you would be a mentor or a coach, right? So everybody is going to have their own seating. So it's really important not to forget that person that is a couple of steps behind. Okay. So that is what your table should flesh out to be. Recapping all together, we have our 2 to 4 mentors or coaches. We have 2 to 4 peers. And then we have our aspiring group, which is our 1 to 2 people who are at the table. Again, that is how we can round out the seats at our table. So you may be like, Bree, cool, I got my seats. I have people already in mind that can fill these seats. I'm good. Hold on a second. What I want you to do as you look at these seats, because maybe you will switch things up after this, maybe you won't. One of the things that I want to encourage you to do is to look at the seats at your table and ask yourself, are the seats, the people who are at your table, is that a diverse table? Is that a diverse table? The reason why I ask if it's a diverse table is because oftentimes, and I've seen in different groups, we like to stick with our people, right? We want to be like real close to, and that's a beautiful thing. Listen, okay? That is a beautiful thing. But it is also really important to have a wider worldview perspective and think about different people. And when I mean diverse, maybe it's age, right? Do you have a diversity of ages, right? An age range at the seats in your table where you can pull from the wisdom of a more seasoned lady, right? My mature ladies out there who are a couple of years older than you, a decade, 2 decades, right? Do you have that range in there so that you do have diversity of thoughts, right? That really matters, because one of the things that I also find is, and I don't know why people be coming for all the different generations and how we do what we do. There is something really beautiful and freeing when you can get all the different Gen X, Gen Y, millennial, like get everybody in the group together and have the conversation. We could take over the world if we would all just talk, if we could all just figure out like how we can help and serve one another, because that diversity of perspective is going to serve you. Think about diversity of region, background, ethnicity, experience, right? Everybody that has a seat at your table does not need to be in the same industry that you're in. Sis, if you're doing fashion and everybody at your table does fashion, you're bottlenecking yourself. You're not going to have the beautiful conversation that comes when you can talk to somebody else who's like, you're in fashion but you're in education, and I would have never known how to do this webinar or teach this technique that I have if I didn't get to talk to you, the teacher who shows me how to better articulate what I'm trying to show. You get what I'm saying? Just have diversity. Think about it in different ways, and ethnicity too. I like to say gender as well. I know there's a lot of ladies on here, and listen, I love a fly table with a lot of lovely ladies. And I'm going to encourage you, if there is a gentleman that you can add at that table, add him. Maybe that's a mentor. Right? I joke all the time, and it's because I came up in Jersey, and I would just be like, listen, I would love to have like an older Indian man or like somebody else. Like, I need more Asian friends. I need more Indian friends. I probably also just want to be able to eat at these different people's houses. If I'm honest, like I love all foods. Like I need Dominican friends. I need Puerto Rican friends. I need Jamaican friends. I need Haitian friends. I need I need Korean friends. I need Japanese. I need all of it. Right. So as you are thinking about the seats at the table, I think you definitely need to look at it from a diverse perspective. Right. Look, I love it. You can add me. I'm inspiring. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And I love that you made that comment, because you're right. Get that diversity in there. Get each type of group at your table, because it will truly bless you. And remember, this is your VIP table, right? This is your VIP table. So these are the people who you're going to check in with, right? And you figure out what that frequency is, because I do believe in guarding your peace. Don't feel like you need to overdo it, right? Don't feel like it has to be every day. I have to check in with people. Some people are not raised with that level of connectivity, right? So you definitely need to be intentional about how you will steward these relationships, but truly think about stewarding them well. Like, have touch points, have check-ins, have opportunities where y'all can ask hard questions, because gone are the days for these surface relationships. We can't do surface relationships. You got to get vulnerable with people, and they need to be vulnerable with you. I know in my circle, we have a text group, and it is not uncommon for us to be like, hey, I need prayer on this, and me immediately to get a phone call and be like, well, we praying right now. Or them to send me scripture, or for them to send me a book that they're reading, or for them to send me links to opportunities that they know that I would qualify for, or that would serve me in my business. Why do they know what to send me? Because I'm vulnerable, because I have those conversations, because we check in with one another. And that is how you can steward these relationships really well. So when I talk about guarding the seats at the table, it is also guarding yourself, because remember, who's number one at the table? That's you. You want to make sure that if there's ever a time frame where it's like, this becomes too much, I need a break, I need to whatever, you also are honoring yourself in that season, right? You need to honor yourself in that season, but you also do need to communicate, because I think after the pandemic, people got way too comfortable isolating. They got way too comfortable trying to be a lone ranger. We are not meant to do this thing alone. We need community. We need people to hold us accountable. We need people to speak life into us. We need people, and we need to do that for other people, because it blesses us, right? So I think, especially as we talk about guarding the seats at our table, one, I think we just walk through so that we are curating these relationships. But the key part of that subtitle is that serve you. Get intentional about how you would like these relationships to serve you, right? How you will serve them, how it will serve you, so that is mutually beneficial. So that is what that looks like. I'm going to pause to see if we have any questions as it relates to the seats at the table. And you know what? While I'm waiting to see questions come up, let me address the elephant in the room, because maybe you thought that you had a mentor that was taking up a seat at the table, and they don't need to be there anymore. Anybody feel like that? Like, ooh, but she was my bestie from like middle school, high school, but maybe she doesn't need to have a seat at the table anymore. How do I have that conversation? I'm glad you asked. The way that you have that conversation, and especially if these are people, like maybe it's your sister, maybe you're related to them, right? Maybe it's your mom that you like, oh, mom, you can't have a seat at the table anymore. And it's an unhealthy relationship. I think some of the best advice I have ever gotten as it relates to like familial relationships and how to guard the seats at your table is not that you may stop talking to them altogether, but you might need to talk to them less. I'll say that again. It's not that you have to stop talking to them altogether. You might just need to talk to them less. And that's what guarding the seats at the table looks like. You have to be intentional about the amount of time and the amount of investment and how vulnerable you get with certain people. The people who are sitting at your VIP table, those are people that you build trust with. Those are people who show you they can be trusted, right? So I wouldn't have super vulnerable conversations about the things that I want to do in my business with people who are not at my table. And if you do have to ask people, and asking people to get up from your table is very simple, because you're not literally asking them to get up, right? What you're doing is you're creating a boundary. It's my favorite B word. You're creating a boundary. So oftentimes people think that boundaries are for other people. Boundaries are not for other people. Boundaries are for you. You create the boundary, you enforce the boundary. I said earlier in my intro that I have a background in engineering, and one of the ways that I like to do this is to give you an if-then statement. If the person does X, Y, and Z, then I will do A, B, and C. What that can look like is if you feel like someone is disturbing your peace, if they are, every time they call you, it is with drama, it is with negative talk, it is with telling you what you can't do. If they call you not speaking life, sucking the energy out of you, and I know some people know that when they get on the phone, they just immediately feel drained after a conversation. If that is what happens, then let's plan what we're going to say. I'm sorry, such and such. I am not going to be able to have a long conversation with you right now because this is not helping me grow to where I need to be. Or maybe it's, you know what? Thanks for calling. I actually don't have the time to chat. I'm focused on this other thing right now. If you want to call to talk about and give them example of something, and that's gracious, give them an example of what you do want to talk about, then you can call me back. But right now I'm focused on this. Or if then you have to enforce the boundary. Creating the boundary alone does not work. People cannot read your mind. People cannot read your mind. So you have to communicate the boundary to the people who may be occupying seats at your table currently that don't need to. And these are not easy conversations. These are conversations that, and the reason why, let me explain why these are not easy conversations, because you may be like, oh, well, girl, this is easy. People know and like, and they appreciate where you are right now. So they are going to feel comfortable, feel safe in the familiar. When you start changing things up with boundaries, they are like, who are you? You're acting new. What is this? This is not the person. This is not the relationship. Like, this is not what we do. You being different. And the reason why it can become challenging is because you have to have the confidence in yourself, and you have to hold the line, keep the boundary, and say, yes, I am changing. And that's a great thing. No, I'm not the same person that you went to middle school with. And that's a good thing. People should want to grow, right? People should want to improve. And there are some people that you might want to come along that journey with you, but everybody's not going to come. You can want them to come. You could, look, sis, send them the podcast link. See if they listen to it, right? Send them the book. Hope that they are able to rejoin you at your table at some point in time. But just know that based off of your growth, based off of your momentum, based off of how much you put your head down and you are going after the things that you desire and the event experience that you are designing for your life, everybody's not going to be moving at the same pace. Everybody's not going to be at the seat in the table. Yeah, some people don't like the change. And that's okay. We have to honor them where they want to be. because that would be really rude and disrespectful for me to come to you and say, I need you to change like this. I need you to come on. You didn't ask for that. You weren't ready for that. So you can't expect that from them either. Everybody's on an individual journey. Some people are operating at this pace, and that's okay. They can operate at this pace. Other people, this is their pace, and that's comfortable for them, and that's okay. You have to find the people that are at the seats in the table. Y'all might all be on the same pace. And guess what? That's beautiful. Maybe you might have somebody that's at a seat in your table that is at a slightly faster pace. That may be a coach, that might be a mentor. It could be a peer. You still need to be able to stand in the gap to celebrate them, even if their pace is different. And if they outgrow your table, that's okay. If you outgrow them, that's okay, right? That's why this is an annual audit of our relationships to ensure that we have built in the community that we need to go where we desire to go. We have to build in the community that we need to grow and go where we desire to grow and go. Building in that community is so, so important. So I'm going to check the chat to see if we have any questions. Yes, I'm glad that y'all are receiving all of the words. Yes, being intentional with our relationships. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And first of all, I'm loving all of this. Everything was really like amazing. The creating the boundaries, I think we all struggle with the boundaries. We don't want to set boundaries because we don't want to look bad. We don't want to look like the person that severed a relationship. We don't want to look like the person that, oh, well, who do they think they are? And so we have a problem setting these boundaries. And
Yeah.
I'm loving what you're saying about creating the boundaries for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because when we think of boundaries, again, we know what we want the outcome of the boundary is, right? Most people are like, I want to create this boundary so that person over there acts right. You can't force anybody to act right, right?
Mhm.
And the reality is, let's be clear, your actions have trained them to treat you the way they are treating you right now.
One more time.
You have trained them to treat you the way they treat you right now. So you have to retrain them to treat you differently. And that takes time because you might have trained them this way for years. You can't snap your fingers and after this live be like, well, I'm different. We knew new seats. What's up?
New year, new me.
New year, new me. Let's go. Like you have been telling people how to interact with you. You have been accepting behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you stop accepting behavior and you consistently stop accepting behavior, that's when they're going to, oh, hold up. So if I still want to be around, if I still want to be in relationship, if I still want to rock it a certain type of way, I have to decide, they have to decide if they're going to go along with this boundary or not. And you have to respect their decision because everybody is not going to respect it. Everybody's not going to go along. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. So we have a question in the chat.
Yeah. Do you think some peer support could be crippling? I do. So, and that's why I addressed this early on. I love peer-to-peer support. I love being in a group and in community with people that's going through it with me, right? Because when we talking about these profit and loss statements that we preparing for the IRS, because tax season is right around the corner, I need to look over to my peers and be like, hey, did this year not feel as good as last year? I felt like last year I felt like I was growing real fast. Did you feel that? And then yeah, girl, like it's good to have people, but again, it's knowing having the right peers in the space, because you'll have people that you think like might want to be at your table and they look good. They might look cute sitting at your table, but they're not the right people for you because they're not going to keep it a buck. They're not going to keep it real with you. You need people who are going to have honest open, transparent conversations where you are really able to grow together. That is the point of that peer-to-peer relationship. And the reality is, if they are growing and you guys are aligned, you're like-hearted, you're growing in the same direction, it shouldn't be crippling because you're both be growing at in a direction. You get what I'm saying? If you notice that up here at your table, you going like this and they being a stubborn stone that just want to sink to the bottom, they will eliminate themselves from your table because they're going to get real uncomfortable with your growth. And that will be an indicator of like, oh, I thought you was right at this table, but you might not be. And that's okay. I love you where you are because your pace may be different than mine. And that's okay.
And I love that, uncomfortable with your growth. That's another thing that I love, because everybody, and you said it's okay for people to not be where you are. You're changing and you're good with that. You're good with the, moving the atmosphere and growing, and they may not be ready to grow. And they, again, may not be ready to come with you. And I absolutely love that you said that, because a lot of the times we think that people are supposed to transform when we transform. We think that people are supposed to, like you said, grow and go to where we're going when we decide that we're ready to move, and they're not. And so we have to respect that. And absolutely, I really, that kind of like resonated with me, because again, you always expect people to think how you're thinking.
Right. And that's why I like to say like-hearted as opposed to like-minded. Everybody expects people to think the same way. Everybody doesn't think the same way. That's why I said we should have diversity in our group, right? We should have a range of ages. We could have a range of different backgrounds, right? Everybody's not going to think the same. But where's their heart? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, what is their heart focus and their heart posture? I love to serve. I love to encourage people that are in my circle. They don't necessarily think the way I think, but they serve, they encourage. Like, we are like-hearted, and I think we want everybody to think the same way we do, and that doesn't get you any growth. That's not growth.
That's right. That's right.
Oh yes, I'm talking about supporting you even when you're wrong. Yeah, no, we don't do that. Again, we're talking about having honest, open, transparent conversation. If dude is wrong, I'm gonna tell you you're wrong. And because I have a seat at the table, I expect the people at my table to tell me that I'm wrong. Because maybe I'm missing something. Have you ever been driving and when people drive in your blind spot and you just can't see them and you trying to shift lanes? Like, I appreciate the little blinker, the little lights on the side of my mirrors to let me know that something's there, because I can't always see it. The people at your table should act in the same way. They should say, there's a blind spot there. You missing something. I love you enough to tell you tripping right now. I love you enough to tell you that that contract that you lost, that was because you did this. Your slip is showing, sis. Like, I need people who are going to be at my table, who are going to have real conversations. If I just needed a table that is the peanut gallery, that is just yes men and women, like, that's not real. That's not real community. So I love that you bring that up, talking about what this true support look like. It's looks like telling people when they're wrong, respectfully, right? Because if you have had that conversation of, I am inviting you to have this seat at the table, then you also need to know that you have given them permission to hold you accountable. You have given them permission to tell you, like, where your blind spots are. And listen, you can agree to disagree with the people in your circle. You can agree to disagree. And that's okay, because you might need to learn your lesson the way you need to learn it. Right. And that's okay too, because everybody should be respected and honored for the journey that they are individually going on. I could want Kimberly to win all day long, and I could tell Kimberly, listen, that's not a good client for you. That's not a good person for you to be around. Kimberly, this ain't it. And Kimberly could be like, no, I love her. This is great. This is going to be this is giving me exposure. This is amazing. Right. And then Kimberly turned around later and is like, oh, it's not what I thought. And you can be there. And as opposed to the people at your table, and this is me talking to y'all about being good people at other people's table, as opposed to be like, nah, boo boo, Kimberly, I told you. What
Right.
you would want to do is say, okay, so what did we learn? Like, what were the signs that you were missing? Why did you think that that was a good move? I had a great conversation just earlier today with one of the people at my table who was pointing out a blind spot for me. And she had to tie it all the way back to trauma responses from our childhood, which may be showing up in how we steward relationships in our adulthood.
Mm,
Listen, that is not a that's a heavy conversation.
heavy.
But you need people who are in your corner who can be like, hey, is this a pattern that you have? And where is that coming from? And I'm pointing it out because I love you, right? So be very intentional about finding people in seats to seat at your table so that you get the advantage. The community that you build should give you an advantage, period.
And we have a hard time appreciating someone else's truth, because when somebody is giving us their truth, we think that they are insulting us, or they
Mhm.
are criticizing us, or they're hating. You know what I'm saying? We don't look at it as, okay, you're speaking from a place of love. And it could be, like you were saying, based on the relationships or the things that you allow in the relationships that you're cultivating. And
Yeah.
so, that's what you're expecting. But you have to, like you said, if you could respect the honesty, if I can tell you honestly, hey, that might not be the right thing, but you still, if I told you and you still did it, where I could still love on you and say, like you said, what did you learn from this? Is there anything that I could do to help you move on from this, or whatever? But if we build those type of relationships, it'll be easier. And like you said, I absolutely love the fact that you said you have to be in relationship with people that you could be honest with.
Yes.
Because a lot of the times somebody can see something for you and they see something that's not right. And because they don't want to be labeled as a hater, they don't tell you something, and you go full head on head, full speed ahead into this disaster.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
When I could have just said something and like, well, I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Right. And you know what? It looks different for each of those groups that we talked about. So for example, my aspiring group, that's the people who are 2 or 3 steps behind you. You might have to ask permission before you just share something that you see that they can't
Share all
see.
of your honesty.
You get what I'm saying? You might have to ask first. And that's something that I've had to do. My niece is one of those people who are, a couple of steps behind me. And I have to ask her because, sis feel like she know.
You
She
know.
feel like she know,
Mhm,
right? And
mhm.
she, even though she is in proximity to me, I know she is gaining and she is gleaning the things and the life lessons, but there are some things she's not going to fully understand until she has her own experiences. So I have to ask, like, hey, I'm noticing this. Are you in a place where you can receive feedback in this area? And
Mm,
she might not be ready to receive feedback in this area, right?
mm,
And also, if they're 2 or 3 steps behind, acknowledge where their emotional intelligence is too, because they may not be ready to have those hard conversations. And you talk about the patterns, and they're not expressing them, so what they might not be ready to have those conversations. So you got to meet them where they're at. And I
mhm.
think that also is how you steward those relationships. Peer to peer, you may be able to have the conversation a little bit easier, especially if you already from jump saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna tell you the real," right? Mentor or coach to peer, that is also a relationship that you might have to have a lighter touch, right? Because you are the younger maybe individual in the relationship, and you see something and it's like, oh, but you could have so much opportunity if you would just do this thing. But they
Right.
might not be in a season where they want to run,
Mm,
right? You can see that they can maybe do something, but they might not be in a space to receive that. So with anything, right, wrong, ideas, encouragement, like, you have to just know the people who are at your table, because it's not a blanket approach that you can
right.
have for all of these different groups.
Mhm. And I receive that, because a lot of the times when you are in the coaching position, because you may be the coach for somebody else, right? So
Right.
if you're in the coaching position and you like, oh, but you need to do this, and you can see how they can do it, and you think it's so easy for it to be done, but they're not there and they're not ready to receive. And a lot of the times too, if you're in the aspiring position and you say, oh yeah, I'm ready to hear your truth, or I'm ready to hear your perspective, they're not really ready to hear it. And then you
Yeah.
create some kind of relationship with them and it's not the same anymore.
Yeah. And it's okay. That's why we're going to do this annual relationship audit. Everybody might not be at your table for years and years and years and years. That's what we want, right? We want to hoard and collect people. But as we grow, as they grow, if the direction changes, if the alignment is off, whatever that looks like, it might need to change. And that's okay. Guess what? You got a vacancy. Ooh, get excited,
That's
right?
right.
Get excited. You got a vacancy, because I don't want you. That's why we started with those 8 seats. I don't want you to overextend yourself either, because being in community and having relationship with people, you are pouring out as you are getting poured into. If it's a situation where somebody is just occupying a seat, it'll feel like you pouring out a whole lot, and that's tiring. That's
Mhm.
draining.
Yeah.
You need to create a vacancy.
Hmm. And I love that. I absolutely love that. I always talk about in the mornings, like pouring from an empty cup, and you can't just keep having these one-way relationships or these one-sided relationships,
Yeah,
because it does, like you said, it doesn't serve you.
it doesn't
Plus,
serve you.
how do you benefit from this relationship?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an ego thing and you want to feel like, okay, you're listening to me. I like that you're paying attention to what I'm saying. But then it becomes a time when it feels like, okay, well, what am I getting from this? This is kind of like you said, it's draining. And
Hmm.
so, how can we help everybody in here to
Yeah.
understand that they need to open their eyes, open their eyes, and change those kind of relationships?
Yeah, I think the best way for everybody on here to open their eyes is to start with number one, that number one seat. If you are not prioritizing yourself, you're gonna get this whole seating chart wrong.
Mm,
Period. You're gonna be putting people in seats because they look good, because they sound good, but they don't serve you.
mhm.
You have to be thoughtful about the seat that you are sitting in, because the reality is, if you're not showing up for you, you can't show up for anybody else.
Amen. A word. Let's go. Let's get it. Yes.
You have to show up for yourself first. You have to steward the seat that you have for yourself first. Whatever that looks like for you, whether that's prayer, whether that's meditation, whether that's taking time to journal, whether that's creating your own objectives and the things that you want. You need to be listening to your voice and the things that you know to do before you start prioritizing anybody else's seat at the table. And I think when we start thinking about that and get real honest with ourselves, that'll help us be able to weed through the relationships that aren't serving us and the relationships that truly are serving us. Because think of it this way, I hope this is freeing for some people. The people who are not serving you are taking up space. There is not room for the people who could serve you to occupy, because the other people are taking up space. You have to make room. You have to make room.
I love that. Make room. You have to, again, 2024 is going to look a whole lot different for everybody in this room, right?
Yes.
It's supposed to look different. You're not supposed to look the same. I say,
Mhm.
you're not obligated to be the old you. You're not obligated to serve somebody the way you used to serve them. You're not obligated to have that kind of relationship with people, and you have to be okay with that. And so
Exactly.
this conversation is definitely a necessary conversation. I would love to carry on this conversation and
Yes.
do we need a part two, because I think people, I don't know if they necessarily need permission, but they need to know that they're not in this by themselves and that
Yeah.
it's okay to have new friends. I know people are like, no new friends, no new friends, but it's okay to have new friends. It's
It's
okay
okay.
to build new relationships, because you're going to learn different things. If you're always doing the same thing with the same people, what are you going to know? What are you going to
Yeah.
learn?
And let me just encourage everybody that's on here, connect with one another. If Instagram is your favorite place to play, like drop your IG handle in here, because the reality is the people that might need to have a seat at your table might be right here in this live, right?
Hello.
They might be right here in this community. So make this your first opportunity to connect. I'll go ahead and drop mine so that you guys can connect with me on a personal level. It's Bree Carroll on IG. That's where I like to play. But for anybody else, drop your handle. Let's follow one another. Let's support one another. And then look, Nikki is the prime example of this. She heard something that I was saying and she reached out. Like, we reached out to one another, and that's how this relationship was built.
Yep.
You never know how a simple reach out, because let's be clear, social media was meant for us to be social, not to just be out here doing it for the gram, right? Like, that you can make genuine connections still if you utilize the tool the right way. I love that. Yes, dropping these handles, and make sure an easy way to do it so that nobody is overwhelmed. Follow the person above you and below you. Boom. Everybody is connected. That's 2 touch points, right? Follow the person above you or below you. That's a great way for you to start looking at the community and the people to make real connections with, right? And because you're getting the same information, because you're in the same spaces, because you're in the same rooms, there's a pretty good chance that y'all might be like-hearted, and you'll be able to support each other and have these tough conversations and hold one another accountable as you continue to go through your journey.
And so I know you have your podcast, and I'm pressing with you. I'm messing with you because I know that it was a holiday break.
A holiday break.
So,
It was on break.
when are we coming back from the holiday break?
Yeah,
so follow the podcast.
Yeah, so February, we'll have the podcast back up and running. The podcast that I have the privilege of hosting is All Things Epic, and this is just one component of it. We talk about experiences with purpose, impact, and community. That is what EPIC stands for. And our conversation really talks a lot about that experience in the community piece, right? We talked about your life is the event. You are the event. Show up for it. That's the experience that we want to design. And a necessary portion of that is community. If you want to hear more about the impact and the purpose portions of that, tune into the podcast, All Things Epic.
I love that. I love that. And there's this girl, I forgot her name. She has blue hair. It's half blue, half black. And she's like, I'm the event. The event is me.
When I tell you, that is it. When I tell you, I low-key needed to holler at sis and be like, hey, you want to do the intro for when the podcast come back? Because that is it. That is really it. And I think people have taken a back seat. And naturally, we're trained culturally to do that, like to put everybody else in front of us. And there is something to say about prioritizing family and prioritizing your spouse and prioritizing your relationship with God and wherever everyone falls with that. But I also feel like in doing so, no, it is dishonoring, and I'm a God girl all day long, but it is dishonoring to my creator to be like, I'm trash, I'm not worthy, I'm not good. Who wants to know who wants to know a God that created me to be all like, boo, I'm blah, don't hang out with me. That's not it. That's not honoring, right? And I know that a lot of us have fallen into this this trend. Oh, you waving? That's my baby. That's my shadow right there. That's my little Kobe. And a lot of us have fallen into the reality of not prioritizing ourselves and not taking the time to being intentional about these moments. Like, that's why I don't mind Kobe coming in here. Why? Because this my baby. This is my priority right here. And I want her to see and hear me having conversations like this. I want her to hear me and see me walking in a way where I am being intentional about taking care of myself and putting myself in communities and spaces of people that will celebrate me and hold me accountable. Why? Because I know the next generation is going to benefit from that, right? Absolutely. The next generation is going to see us walking this thing out, and they're going to be better for it. That's why we have that aspiring group. But let's think even beyond that. Who's too small to sit at the table? They at the kiddie table, but they really looking over, looking at you,
and they listening, and they paying attention.
And they paying attention. Yeah.
Oh, this was so good. And like I said, I feel, and like you said, you are led by faith. And to me, I feel like just us having this connection, just us having just met and, just building together. I was like, you know what? I was like, thank you for the response. And it was a quick response too, because I heard you and I was just like, oh, okay. And then I seen the message and I was like, oh, Oh, so we are connecting. And I was like, oh God, this
It's
is
a
all
thing. It's a thing.
it's a
Yes.
thing. This is all you got. I know it is. I know it is. And I just want to tell you, you don't know what you did, but I want to tell you that I appreciate you and I thank you so very much. I appreciate you for sharing your light with my community. I appreciate what, because I want to make sure that we continue this. I think that this relationship is going to be a mutually beneficial relationship.
That part. That part. That part.
Okay. And I just want to make sure that we keep in mind that we have to guard, like you said, guard our relationships and make sure that the people who we have sitting at our table are going to serve us the way we serve them.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for allowing me to speak in your community. That's a big deal, sis. You got a whole platform out here. And I appreciate that you would invite me on so that we can have this conversation. And I hope that somebody out there, if you're listening, if you are rocking with us from the beginning, that you have a takeaway or you have your seats 1 through 8, you kind of have an idea of who needs to be there now. I hope that blessed you. I hope that it serves you. And I hope that it helps to accelerate you as you continue to go through 2024.
And eliminate them seats, get them people out them seats if they don't belong there.
Tell them to go.
They gotta go. Thank you again. You gotta grow
Yes.
and grow. You gotta grow and go. You gotta grow and go.
Grow and go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, Bree. I appreciate you. Y'all don't forget, join me in the morning, 9 a.m. Coffee with Nikki. I will see y'all for your daily cup of information and inspiration. Thank you again so much, Bree. Everybody, y'all have a good night. Thank you, y'all.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.